The Bills hired the first female assistant coach. However, there's already backlash, as there was a host in Cleveland who pretty much said, and our update girl kind of brought up the point, who basically said that women should not be in sports at all. I'm starting to see a trend now, Mike, with the show tonight, that we're really getting into like women's roles within the sports world.
Mm. Yeah.
And believe me,
no, I get you.
I planned to do a little bit on the feminism thing when we were talking about Charlotte and Becky. I didn't think it was going to be a majority of the show, and I'm not complaining, but I did not think it was going to be a majority of the show. But what are your thoughts with this guy who made these comments that basically women should not be an assistant coach at all, and there's no reason for her to be an assistant coach? Mind you, this isn't her first time in the NFL. She has worked with Rex Ryan in the past. She was with him when he was still with the Jets. But what's your overall take on that?
Well, it's always great when male testosterone gets entirely out of control. It has unforeseen consequences. But listen, my opinion is if you're qualified and you're good at your job, it shouldn't matter what sex you are. It shouldn't matter what you believe in or anything like that. If you can do the job that you're hired to do, you should be allowed to do it. And if this woman or any woman is qualified enough to bring something to the table in the NFL or any major sport, they should be allowed to be in, and they should be allowed to have the same rights and privileges that their male counterparts are. I don't necessarily think that something like this would ever lead to a female being an NFL player, because I just and I'm not trying to disrespect anyone here. I don't think we're ever going to see the day where you have a female player in the NFL. I just don't think that you would ever see a woman be able to handle the physicality. I mean, you see a lot of males who aren't really able to handle the physicality of the NFL. So, and I just don't think that something like this would ever lead to that. But I don't think it's a bad thing to have a female assistant coach or an NFL position coach. If they're qualified, and like I said, if they're able to bring something to the table that makes them more qualified for the position than a male for that position, they should be allowed to do it.
Some of the awards were given out in the NFL, and the one award I want to look at is the NFL Executive of the Year, and that was given to Jets GM Mike McCagnon. I used to go to school in York, Pennsylvania in 2013, and I would go on rants for a good 10 minutes on how much I hated Judd Idzik, who was the former general manager of the New York Jets. Because he I'll put it this way, he was a moron. He didn't know how to run a team, and the decisions he made were just idiotic. But I agree 100% with giving McCagnon the NFL Executive of the Year. This is a guy who came in after the Jets were, I think, 6-10 last year, or 4-12, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah.
And
something like that.
He turned his team around. He brought back Darrelle Revis. He brought in Fitzpatrick. He brought in Eric Decker. I mean, he's made the right moves. Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't make it to the playoffs this year. But, I mean, you had a 10-win season when most guys figured, okay, this team was only going to be an 8-8 team at the most, maybe 9-win team at the most. But the fact that he was able to turn this team around as quickly as he did, I give him all the credit in the world, and I think he's 100% deserving of the NFL Executive of the Year.
No, listen, anytime you take a team that was 6-10 or 4-12 and you make them 10-6 and one game away from the playoffs, he's definitely up there and considered for an Executive of the Year award. And he put a great team on the field. They weren't able to get over the hump, but between the players that he put on the field, drafting Leonard Williams and bringing back Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie and bringing in Brandon Marshall and keeping Chris Ivory and bringing in Ryan Fitzpatrick, the roster was a ton better than it was last year. And, Todd Bowles was a great hire as the head coach. He did a great job, so he absolutely deserved it.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. And hopefully he can keep this team going, and maybe next year they will be a playoff team. And I'll be curious to see how it all plays out in the end with him, because let's be honest, you had one good year. Let's see if you can make it in 2 good years. Talks started happening today between the New York Jets and Ryan Fitzpatrick. And my question to you is, how much would you pay Ryan Fitzpatrick to come back to the Jets for next season?
I don't really know if I could put a dollar amount on it. I'm not really sure what the prices would be, but I definitely feel he's earned a substantial raise over what he made last year, considering what he was able to do and the fact that he really is as much responsible for bringing them back to respectability as anyone else, especially after the mess that the Geno Smith situation was before the season. I could see him getting a 1 or 2 year contract, maybe $6 to $8 million a year, maybe even $10 million a year.
All right.
But one way or another, I mean, if you're going to bring Fitzpatrick back for this season, that's great and all. You have to draft your franchise quarterback for the future this year. You have to identify someone in the draft who you can name as your franchise quarterback, because it's not Geno Smith, and I don't think they have the confidence in Bryce Petty.